Okay.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
I'm sure. She's talking, but I can't hear her. Can you hear her?
No.
I can hear her now.
Could you hear her before?
Yeah, we were. You can hear me.
Hello.
We can't hear you.
Can you see? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You can hear me, right? On that machine? Hello, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
I think she might have muted.
Maybe she's reading herself.
They can
They can
see.
see me. I know. I'm doing monkey tricks. We don't want to hear publish. That's the joke. I'm going to do that.
Maybe tap your ears and see you. Is that you? Nobody's screaming. Patrick, already?
Dziękuję bardzo, Panie Adamie. Chciałabym tylko poprosić Macieja o wyświetlenie naszego hashtagu, ponieważ cały czas trwa nasz konkurs hashtagowy. Także gorąco zachęcam Was do udostępniania go na Facebooku, na Instagramie albo na Twitterze.
Na Instagramie.
Mamy szansę wygrania bardzo ciekawych nagród. Za chwileczkę będzie wyświetlone. Widzę, że już Michael jest z nami. Michael, hello, how are you?
Hi.
Hi. We're going to be with you shortly. We just have got our little concourse and we are going to just show the audience what they need to do in order to win a contest. Okay.
Cool.
How is Agent Maciek doing? Okay. Well, Michael, why don't you start your speech now, because we are not going to wait for this slide for the moment. We're going to listen to you now, okay?
Okay. So I guess you're expecting a speech. I will have to make up a speech right now. Patrick.
Hello. Hi, Michael.
Hi. So,
Hi. So
first question is, who
yes.
understands what I'm saying right now? Raise your hand.
Who understands? Oh. Quite a lot, Michael.
Okay,
if you
Patrick,
could speak, yeah,
understand.
most people, the majority of people do understand you. If you just speak slowly.
Cool.
Okay.
Great. So, you know, one of the things that I said, I think I'm talking to a group of people who are entrepreneurs, right, or would like to be entrepreneurs. And I think I'm talking to a group of people who, by the way, I'm wearing a very special T-shirt in honor of you guys right now, which says, you see, it says, "Be a founder." Ta-da! Be a founder of a company. So, not everyone is supposed to be a founder, but I think everyone can be a founder, and I think it's wonderful. Also, just in a moment of California here, you'll notice that my hair is wet. And just to give you my bona fides as a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, the reason it's wet is I just showered. And the reason I just showered is I was just doing yoga a minute ago. So that actually happens in Silicon Valley. Yes, it is true. We wake up, we do yoga, we drink espresso, and then we go milkshake. That is true. So, you know, I talk to groups of entrepreneurs and people who want to be entrepreneurs around the world a lot. And I find that there are a lot of myths. One myth that Europeans face is that you don't have an entrepreneurial culture, or you don't have a culture that's good for Silicon Valley. I don't think that's true. Definitely, the risk profile of a European is different from the risk profile of an American, and the cultural tolerance for risk among Europeans is sometimes different. At least in broad strokes. I would say, actually, how many of you are Eastern European? Are you all Polish? Are you all Polish? Is everyone Polish? Dude with the fucking iPad, who's
Apart
typing
from
on the iPad
Patrick.
and the glasses right in front of me. Are you Polish?
Yes.
You in the glasses, right there. Are you Polish? Looking at the phone. You're triple screening it, and I'm talking to you from America. I'm talking to you from California. You! Yes, you! Right there. Are you Polish? I want you to pay attention. Everyone here is Polish. So one thing I will say is that actually Eastern Europeans often have a higher risk tolerance than Western Europeans. I think that you guys, for whatever reason, just have a higher tolerance for risk than some of your French or German or Spanish counterparts. That's cool. The other thing I would say is that, there's sort of a different work style. Some people say there's a different work style in Europe versus America, and that in Silicon Valley we work more. Maybe on balance that's true, but I find a lot of very, very hardworking European entrepreneurs. And so let's just get rid of the dumb myths, right? The other thing I keep hearing is that European entrepreneurs, when it comes to the internet, basically copy American entrepreneurs, and that's all they do. Well, that's true in Germany. It's true in Germany because there are a group of three brothers called the Samver brothers. Have you heard of the Samver brothers? Yeah, so you know about them. So they created a culture where everyone was copycatting American internet companies. But apart from that, British, Estonian, Finnish, Spanish, entrepreneurs in the internet, French, often have their own very unique ideas. And so, I think the first thing is to blow up some myths about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a guy in Silicon Valley who's doing this. Thank you. That's very nice. That's very. He's taking a picture now of the thing. That's cool. You don't have to be a guy in Silicon Valley taking a risk in Silicon Valley, working on some kind of novel idea to do it. You do have an ecosystem in Europe. You do have the will in Europe. The last myth, I think, which is a myth that you guys don't want to hear probably, is that the biggest thing that's missing in Europe is finance, is funding, is venture capital. I hear this all the time, that there's not enough money floating around in Europe, and that's not true. You hear the same complaint in Silicon Valley, believe it or not, which sounds crazy to you, I'm sure, and is crazy actually. But there's money everywhere, and one thing that's reliable about capitalism is that it's self-propelling, meaning it moves itself, and it's very greedy, meaning if there's an opportunity, it will find you, right? The money will find the opportunity. So it might be easier to move to Berlin. It might be easier to move to London rather than Poland or a smaller town in Poland or whatever. That's true. There's always easier, but there's no shortage of opportunity. So those are the myths that we can blow up first. The number one thing I like to tell entrepreneurs or people who want to start a company is, if you don't know what kind of company to start, everyone has a company, right? It doesn't mean that everyone has an internet company, but everyone has a company. And the shortest way, if you want to think about what kind of how many of you have started a company already? How many of you still are running that company? How many of you have reached €1 million in sales per year? No shit. What's your business?
One hand up.
What's her business? That's interesting.
It's franchise in silver.
No kidding. I don't think I have anything to teach you about anything. I don't know anything about silver. But here's what's cool about that. Right? So well, you can tell the group after I hang up. You can tell the group if this logic makes sense to you then, because I think it's a very good example of how to find the company that you should start. So, one very easy mechanism is to develop two lists. The first list is stuff that you love doing, and here's the most important thing about these lists. These lists are completely private. You never have to show them to anyone. You don't have to show them to Patrick. You don't have to show them to your mom. You don't have to show them to your boyfriend or your girlfriend. It's a list of what you love doing, and you have to be very honest with yourself to make it useful. So the list can be, I love talking on the phone. It can be, I love gambling. It can be, I love making people feel good about themselves. Maybe your secret list is you like making people feel bad about themselves. Okay? You have to be very, very honest with yourself about what you love doing. The second is a list of what you're very good at doing. And maybe you know something about silver. Maybe you know something about luxury. Maybe you know something about franchises. Maybe you know something about selling and you're good at it. And the reason you develop these two lists is that there's an overlap there's a space in overlap between these two lists. And that space in overlap is probably where your company should be. So I'm speculating here about the gal who began the successful business in silver franchise. Does that mean that you own a franchise that sells silver? Is that a silver products like silverware?
Yes, it's silver and producing and having franchise. So having little shops around
Retail.
Poland.
And silver means silverware, like for forks and knives and things, or it means actual silver?
Actual jewelry.
Jewelry, great. So maybe you know something about luxury. Maybe you love luxury. Maybe you love jewelry. Maybe you love selling. Maybe you love community-based selling, which is often something that leads to franchise. So that's a list, right? I might love basketball, but I can tell you I'm very bad at basketball actually. So a career as an NBA star might have been my first choice, but it doesn't work for me. Okay, I'm a Jewish guy from New York. You don't get NBA stars in basketball anymore. It's not our population. It's a different population that goes to succeed in the NBA. So I had to come up with a list of stuff that I love doing and a list of stuff that I'm good at, and that's how I found my company. And then when it comes to the internet, by the way, there's a good reason for those two lists. You have to find what you love doing because you're going to do it a lot. You're going to do it all the time. So in the front, in the jacket, this fellow right here in the white shirt and the jacket, right? You have a company, right? Right here, right there. You, yes, you, right? You have a company. You have an internet company. Do you have an internet company? Who has an internet company?
Who has internet? Kto ma firmę internetową? Panowie z tyłu? Yes, the guys in the back.
Okay, so every day you talk about your company, right? Every day, right? And you have to talk about it 100 times per day, right? And after a while, it starts to feel like you can't take it anymore. You can't listen to yourself talk about it anymore, right? Right? After the first rule I learned on this topic was after you get to the point where you cannot listen to yourself talk about your business for one more second, when you cannot stand it anymore, you just can't take it anymore, that's the time when the first person is actually starting to listen to you. So the point is, you have to love it so much that your tolerance is very, very high, because you're going to do it ad nauseum. You're going to do it over and over and over and over again. And we have to be something you're good at, because if you keep doing something you're bad at, you'll just fail faster, which is not a good solution. So those are the two lists. When it comes to the internet, there are only two kinds of internet companies, basically. There's a Brave New World kind of company. Brave New World means I'm doing something for the first time that no one has ever done before. So eBay, Yahoo, Amazon, Intel, Apple. Then there's a second kind of company, which is a faster, better, cheaper company. And that's a company that will understand there's an existing market, there's an existing demand, and there'll be a population of companies that do it well, but you're going to do it better or faster or cheaper. And that is, a good example of that is Google or Facebook, right? Facebook was not the first social networking company, but it was better. Google was not the first search company, but it was better. So those are the two kinds of internet companies. And by the way, it's worth deciding which one of those is more appealing to you, because you have a different set of skills for each of those kinds of companies. Faster, better, cheaper is 100% about execution. Execution, execution, execution. Does that make sense, the word execution in this context? You just have to be smarter and faster and harder working and more efficient and more correct every day than the other guys. Now, it does not mean you have to be more imaginative. Actually, sometimes it's a disadvantage to be imaginative. You just have to be better. So, if that's your DNA, if that's how you operate, if that's your process, that's a great kind of company for you. If you want to do something completely new, you have to have a Brave New World kind of company. You have to have a lot of tolerance for risk, and you have to be willing to be wrong a lot. And you have to have patience to navigate to the product and market fit. Does that make sense? The product and market fit? You have to find the product that the market wants. And that requires patience, that requires tolerance, that requires insight. So it's a different kind of business on the internet. And everyone on the internet talks, you have to go faster, faster, faster. That's not necessarily the most important lesson when it comes to a Brave New World company. And it's very important to understand this, because this matters as a question of who you are as the founder, but it also matters about who you hire. Some people are execution animals, but they don't know how to do something new. and some people are very good at imagination but don't know how to execute. So that spectrum, that mix, is very, very important when it comes to deciding what kind of company you want to start. Right? If you want to compete with online commerce for clothing, that's a faster, better, cheaper company. If you want to build the first inventory or index of online clothing, that might be a Brave New World company. Different kinds of talent, even though it's the same subject. Does that make sense? Patrick, is this coming across?
Patrick says, great.
They're polls, they never show any emotion.
Huh?
They are posed, they never show any emotion.
I can't tell if I'm being, so I can take the feedback. I can't tell if they can understand me, if they don't like what I'm saying, or if they're bored, or if they just are being unemotional. You're allowed to say you don't like what I'm saying. That's okay. I can take it. Here we go. Here's the guy who's talking. That's great. That's cool. This guy has something to say. What is he saying?
I said that we like to see only when somebody fails. So if you hear nothing, that means it's great. So you should be happy.
Oh, you like to see what's, oh, that's funny.
Okay.
That's funny. Only Polish people like to see when when someone's failing. That's depressing.
We are happy
So,
when
yeah, it's a little depressing.
failing.
I want to see you guys succeed. I want to come back next year and 5 of you have gotten 1 million euros in sales. That's what I want.
Who wants
And
to
then
ask
this
a
lady
question?
has 5 million euros in sales or 10 million euros in sales.
Well, let's raise our hands. Podnieśmy ręce, żeby pokazać, jak jesteśmy szczęśliwi. Look how happy we are with your presentation, okay?
No, you don't have to be happy. You don't have to be happy. I'm not like, listen, I like happy, I like unhappy. I just want something. I have to do faces. If you make me do faces, I'll do faces. What do you work with, the internet guys in the back? What are you working on?
Oh. Here he comes.
Here he goes. Here's the entrepreneur. Here he is.
Hello.
Hello. What's your name? Sweet. What's your name?
My name is Maciej.
Cool. I can see you.
You asked what we are working
Yeah.
on. So we are working on some privacy algorithms and cryptography. And
That's cool.
I have a question.
That's really cool.
Where should we start our next startup in this area? In the Silicon Valley, or we should start here in Poland?
Cryptography? It's cryptography, or it's like a privacy service?
It's we are working on privacy in terms of storing data and sending messages in a private way.
So something like encryption for messaging and storing data.
Yes, exactly.
Great. So I think that's super cool. You may know that I care a lot about privacy. That's sort of my central interest commercially. So Reputation.com is probably the largest company in the world in privacy right now. And you know, I always think it's an advantage to start a company. Let me say it this way: every company has 1,000 reasons to fail. That may make Polish people happy, but I'm talking about 1,000 reasons to fail, and 500 of them are in your control, and 500 of them are out of your control. The ones that are out of your control, the economy, maybe regulation, something like that, right? the ones that are in your control are the quality of your code, the quality of your product, how much you work during the day. And one of the things that might be in your control is where you start the company. So clearly, Silicon Valley is a special place. It's a place that is probably unique in the world right now, and probably will be for some time when it comes to technology and internet-enabled companies, in terms of the number of high-quality engineers and other features of the so-called ecosystem. So I always think it's a good idea to consider Silicon Valley. I will say that Europe is a place where privacy technology has a very good market right now. Okay, so you want to be close to your customers if you have the opportunity to be close to your customers. You want to be close to engineers, close to maybe investors, but peers, colleagues, co-founders, and you want to be close to your customers if you can be. So my guess is that many of your customers are going to be in America, but that many of your customers are going to be in Europe. So, Europe, the good news about Europe is that it's actually fairly small, so that anywhere in Europe you can fly anywhere else in 2 hours, basically. So, and the bad news about California is that it's actually far from Europe. So, I think the question comes down to how many good engineers, because you're talking about a very serious kind of technology, how many good engineers or computer scientists, if it's real encryption / mathematicians, how many of them do you know very well in Poland? And if you have an advantage in Poland where you can find very good people who want to work for you because they know you and your colleagues, that's a very good reason to stay in Poland. You might have to set up a commercial office in Berlin or London or something like that, but if you have an advantage, that's great. On the other hand, if it's just 2 of you or 3 of you, and you're kind of by yourselves, and all of your friends have other jobs, and all of your friends do other kinds of jobs, then I think you might be a free agent, and I would revisit that question. There are very few people who have, a huge advantage. Like, I know all the really good guys in Poland, or I know all the really good guys in Romania, or I don't know all the really good guys in France. And that's a very powerful reason to stay where you are. It's probably the only excellent reason to stay where you are. You might have personal reasons to stay where you are, and those might be excellent, but those are not commercial reasons to stay where you are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Does anybody else have a question?
There he goes.
Hi.
I seriously have no idea what you guys are thinking. It's hilarious to me. It's like usually I get like a little bit of like, oh, I'd rather be eating Doritos, or oh, this guy's so awesome, and he's like hilarious. I get some kind of response. This is like, I can't tell, you know what I mean? I'm getting a little bit of love. This guy with the glasses is now laughing. He's smiling. There he goes. Smiling. There he goes. The girl next to him smiling. Okay, I got 2 smilers. Okay. Next. What's the next question?
Okay. I'm working on personal branding, marketing, business, and the mission ToRun is, in the end, is about networking, and I want to network with you.
I want to network with you.
Yes, I running a blog, expertologia.pl, and I want to read an interview with you if you want this. I can send you a questions, and my readers will be very happy. It's about to encourage them to be more entrepreneurial, to create their own business.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
Are you in?
I'm in.
Okay.
I don't write Polish, so someone has to translate my answers.
Thank you. And I need your email. If Patrick.
It's okay. You can reach me at michael@reputation.com.
Yes, Patrick will pass on your email. Okay, Michael?
Cool. Guys, yeah, so don't be embarrassed about this stuff. That's a very good lesson. Um, you know, if you believe in what you're doing, I love what this guy just did, because if you believe in what you're doing, just ask. I mean, no one like me is going to be annoyed. Just ask. Just ask. You have to ask. So the
Well,
answer is yes. You asked, and I said yes.
yes, great. Michael, you're such a celebrity
Oh,
that
yes, I'm
we are
very
just
famous
worried
in Denmark, especially.
whether.
We're very famous in Denmark.
And we know that you are, we want to respect your privacy, and your reputation is so huge that we are just worried to ask that question, but it's great. We can share it with our
Okay.
agent.
Yeah,
Any more
I can
questions?
take one more probably, then I gotta go, guys. Or we can call it what it is.
Okay. Yes. Here's Patrick.
Hey,
Patrick!
Michael, it's Patrick. How are you?
I'm sorry, here's a real entrepreneur, Patrick Young.
Real life, the genus entrepreneurs, eh?
Yeah.
Well, I actually had two things to say. The first one was actually, I think your reputation, as it were, only went through the roof last time we were chatting via this method, because you spoke at Mission ToRun, then we went home, and the next thing was I'm getting like messages pinged to me and going like, that Michael Furtick guy, he's on TV. And we turned over, and there you were, dubbed into Polish in some documentary made by, I think, a bunch of French guys or something. And
Who
it's like,
knows?
who knows? It was such a cool thing. It was appearing. I don't think Polish TV still understand why it was that, like in the ToRun demographic area, suddenly you were the second most watched program of the evening. But hey, they'll work it out sooner or later.
That's cool.
I wanted to actually ask you something just quickly, because we talked a bit about geography. You obviously used to have a business that you ran out of Boston, True Exchange. And
Yeah.
I just wondered if you'd like to give us just a little bit of color on the difference between Boston and Silicon Valley.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So I'm 35, okay? So I'm talking about history that predates me. 25 years ago, Boston was bigger than Silicon Valley when it came to technology jobs. 15 years ago, they were the same size. And now Boston is probably 10% of Silicon Valley. I mean, it's collapsed. A lot of stuff has moved here. So as a place to live, there's no question that California is just awesome. Let me be clear. It's awesome. You can surf, you can bike ride every day of the year. It's ridiculous. It's unfair, okay? It's unfair. So there's no better place. It's like you walk outside, you want a thing, it's gorgeous, and then you make $1 million. That's California. Okay, that's how we do it in California. It's crazy. Okay, it's really nice weather, and they give you money. Okay, that's what they do. So there's no better place to live. On the other hand, I would say that right now, if I were starting a company right now, I would start a company in one of three places. One is here, Silicon Valley, because I have a network here and something of a reputation here and a track record here. Good. Number two would be Boston, because you still have, like in ToRun, an amazing set of universities there. You have, Harvard, you have MIT, you have many universities, and those are very smart kids, and they need jobs, or they can get very, very good kids. And I have an advantage in Boston, like this fellow I talked to a minute ago has perhaps an advantage in Poland. I have an advantage in Boston because I have a good network in Boston for hiring. And the third place would be San Diego. And why is it San Diego? Well, San Diego is an amazing place. There's, it's California. It's even more beach and even more blonde and even more fabulous than Silicon Valley. It's just amazing. But the difference is that San Diego has a large defense group of people who work in defense, national defense. They are chiefly Navy and Marines from the United States. And this is a very strong group of people in technology. They have a lot of a technology experience. And also, they don't like to leave San Diego. San Diego is one of the nicest places in the world, and you don't want to leave San Diego when you work in San Diego. So you have a certain advantage as an entrepreneur in hiring less expensive people in San Diego, though it's a smaller population. If you have a cool company, you can hire a lot of great people, and they're less expensive in San Diego. I would say Boston, comparing Boston to Silicon Valley, Boston is a more serious place than Silicon Valley. So if you have very, very serious technology, You can do it in Silicon Valley, but it's a great fit for Boston. Hardcore encryption, hardcore networking, hardcore technology. In Silicon Valley, if you have a gaming company or if you have a social media company, you don't want to do it in Boston. You want to do it where the cool kids are in Silicon Valley. Even in Silicon Valley, Patrick, it's a good question. There's a new spectrum. Silicon Valley, where I live, Palo Alto, is a little more serious, a little bit more hardcore, and San Francisco, which is an awesome place to live, is a little bit more gaming, a little more social media, a little more kind of fun e-commerce, right? Buying food, buying clothes, all that stuff. Silicon Valley is a little bit more harder technology. So there's even a spectrum here, and in the last 5-6 years, I've noticed that there are some people who want to live and work in San Francisco, and there are people who want to live and work in Silicon Valley, and they're not the same groups of people in general. In general. Is that helpful, Patrick?
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Michael.
You guys are awesome. You're all very good looking, and you're all very smart, and I especially like all of you. And Patrick, thank you very, very, very much. And the beautiful blonde in the front, who's married to Patrick now, I understand. Congratulations. Hooray!
Hooray. Thank you very much, Michael. Really, it's been a pleasure. It's great to see you. I hope we will actually catch up face to face soon. I'm sorry I won't see you. Ironically, when you get to Monaco, I go to Berlin, typical.
Right.
I hope I'll see you soon, and thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show some emotion and thank Michael Furtick for another great speech. Michael Furtick. Terrific, Michael. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.
Dziękujemy bardzo. A w tej chwili przejdziemy do naszego hashtaga. Maciej zaraz zaprezentuje. Mam nadzieję, że dużo się dzieje na hashtagu Mission Toruń. Tak jak zapowiadaliśmy, hashtagi użyte na Twitterze, na Instagramie lub na Facebooku biorą udział w konkursie z nagrodami. Także zachęcamy Was gorąco. Można brać komórki w dłoń, tablety również. Widzę, że już nasz agent z tyłu działa ostro. Tak, nie ma szans już na ekranie, ale są aż 3, także zachęcam Was gorąco. A w tej chwili połączymy się z naszym agentem, który wystąpił we wcześniejszej misji. Jest to Colin Howard, który ma dla nas przesłanie. Proszę bardzo. To było zrobione specjalnie przez Colina Howarda, który wystąpił na naszej wcześniejszej misji. Jak widzieliśmy, miał trochę problemy z opanowaniem nowych technologii. Mam nadzieję, że wy nie macie żadnych problemów i w tej chwili wysyłacie tweety, między innymi z hashtagiem Mission Toruń. Tak jak mówiłam, nagrody ufundowane przez firmę Ada Plus czekają, a również nagroda ufundowana przez Hanse Cafe. Także gorąco zachęcam. A teraz łączymy się z Steve'em Smithem z Fourth Story, a więc z powrotem do Silicon Valley, czyli do Kalifornii. Przeniesie nas Maciej. To był Steve z Doliny Krzemowej. Następnie pojawi się Glenn Elliot, który był na poprzednim naszym spotkaniu. Opowiadał o grywalizacji, o tym, jak potężna jest to dziedzina, a tak jak poprzednio mówił, jest to z pewnością zawód z przyszłością, przedsiębiorczość z przyszłością. Także łączymy się z Glennem. Dziękujemy Glenowi. A w tej chwili przechodzimy do przechodzimy do Marcina Ostajowskiego. Marcin znany jest z pierwszego pojawienia się w Hansie. Pojawił się tu z premierą Hery, swojego pierwszego piwa, które uważył właśnie no nie bezpośrednio w Toruniu. Marcin pochodzi z Torunia, jest związany z Mission Toruń od samego początku naszych spotkań. Niestety nie mógł się dzisiaj z nami zobaczyć, ale zostawił trochę pamiątki. Powiem szczerze, nie wiem co będzie, bo jeszcze nie oglądałam tego filmu. Dostarczony został dosłownie przed chwilą. Nie ma dzieci, więc mam nadzieję, że nie będzie nic kompromitującego. Zapraszam. było polsko-angielsko, czyli tak jak zazwyczaj na Mission Toruń. Ja dziękuję bardzo za przygotowanie w imieniu naszej społeczności, za przygotowanie tutaj oprawę techniczną Maciejowi, a w tej chwili przechodzimy do krótkiego przedstawienia Mission Toruń, naszej misji, podsumowania naszej rocznej misji przez Patryka.
Dobry wieczór. Good evening. Hello, everybody. Lovely to be back again after only 5 minutes away from the microphone. Do we have my slides, perchance? So, anyway, just something to go through for a few minutes. Part of it, I will apologize, Maciej, because he's seen doing nothing. We are back. For those of you who are watching us online, apologies for that. If you missed us, we're about to get to my presentation from yesterday. Look, the thing anyway is that we had really a fantastic year for Mission. I mean, it's been incredible to bring together so many people at all of these missions. Over 500 people have attended throughout the course of the year. We had an incredible meeting, our clinic, where we were able to meet some great new businesses, represented today by Promode in particular. You are one of the people who came to us with a business plan you're developing. We love it. We've got a couple more businesses, one in particular I can think of that looks really exciting, that's going to be launching in the next few, well, certainly the next few months, because we know that he's just engaged with his architect. It's going to be really, really interesting. Something I know everybody's going to enjoy. And I'll leave that and tease you with what it might be to think about in the near future. But really, I suppose the point about Mission ToRun is very simple. I mean, the thing that we're looking at here is the idea that, you know, we have to have essentially an entrepreneurial culture. It's what Michael was talking to us about from Silicon Valley earlier. And the topic yesterday, because it was an e-business conference, was the idea of putting the entrepreneur into e-business. And really, I feel this is very important because we need in Poland a better economy. And the difficulty is that we cannot rely on the better economy just arriving. You know, it's not going to be granted to us by God, or indeed by the politicians, or by anybody else. And the thing is, unless we build it, it won't happen. It's really, really simple. Now, the thing I was showing yesterday to the students, because I have to say I think students sometimes need to be reminded of these things, is that Polish unemployment is 10%. That's not a good number. Okay, it's slightly less worse than the Eurozone, which is 12%. Still, that's not very encouraging that 1 person in 10 doesn't have a job, particularly not given the fact that unemployment, even in places like the United States of America, are starting to approach, well, a lot less than that at the moment. That's a pretty scary statistic. 27% of people under 25 in this country are unemployed. And that's the message I was particularly trying to bring to the students, because growing up and thinking you're going to get a nice job somewhere just simply isn't going to happen. And as I pointed out yesterday, the way they do these statistics is that they do them through a bucket that's like under 25, under 35, so on. It doesn't markedly get any better if you decide not to graduate until you're 26. It's still a pretty ugly state if you're going to get there. Now, what are your options? Well, line 1 is the not terribly good option. Please, I do not want death. I particularly implore you, suicide is never an option. But for God's sake, don't join the civil service. That's just the same thing. It just lasts 40 years, okay? And I mean, when it comes to being in an NGO, that's just like an ongoing suicidal issue, but you won't even get the civil service pension. So please, you've got to do something that's productive. It may be option 2, academia. But on the other hand, the opportunities can be quite limited. You may want to do something more interesting. So therefore, you might decide point 3, let's find a job. But I refer you to the point a moment ago, 10% are unemployed and 27% effectively of student-age people are unemployed as well. Point 4, you could emigrate. Now, emigration actually can be a good option, but I personally think if you're going to emigrate, go for a few years, add to your skills base and come back. Because whatever you do, ultimately, I believe, the roads lead to point 5. That's why I put it in bold, to try and make it more helpful. Do your own thing. Because ultimately, there are several reasons. We've heard it from lots of speakers over the course of this year. Colin Howard, it's not about the money, it's about the freedom. It's the opportunity to be your own boss, to do your own thing, to have the opportunity to shape your own world, as indeed Michael was talking to us today, as Steve Smith talked about several months ago, as Patrick Burley, if you remember him, our English craft brewer, talked about just a few months ago. I'd love to name everybody who's spoken at Mission ToRun, and I probably can, but it would take too long. So therefore, I'm only picking on a few people as we go along. Freedom, freedom, freedom. That's what it brings you when you're going to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to worry about flexi time. You don't have to worry about bosses, but you do have the opportunity to help shape your own world. And in truth, what is that world? Okay, Michael gave us a very interesting possibility. The idea of taking this nexus, as he's talked about before, look at what you really, really like doing, look at what you're good at, somewhere in the middle is your job. Let me tell you, the opportunities in this country, in this world, are immense. First of all, bear in mind the fact that if you do something that can be sold online, your opportunity, your ability to export, it's actually only as far away as where you connect to the internet. That's not something that could be said of the world when I was starting out, 20, 30 years ago. It's incredible how the world is flat. New technology, products, is driving our world. Things like graphene, actually partly developed in Poland, nanotechnology, sensational. Think about how technology changes your world. Well, 15 years ago, we used to pick up all of these printed things and we would buy them and read them called books. And at the time, Nicholas Negroponte was in the MIT Media Lab and he was saying, 15 years time, what you're going to have is like this electronic thing and it's going to be like liquid paper and a sort of tablet and you'll read your books that way. And everybody laughed at him. I'm not kidding. I mean, 96, 97, 98, he went around talking about effectively the Kindle world, being able to read things on your smartphone. Nobody believed him. In 15 years' time, think about it this way. The reason that you or your children will be late for work, for school, is because the computer printer making your breakfast has got jammed. Because that's where we are. Computer printers will not just be doing 3D printing, they're going to be printing food. They've got it in labs already. They're trying to print food, and they're doing quite well with it. It's just a question of stabilizing it, okay? So that's what technology is going to do with us. But on the other hand, it can be anything. It can be web apps. It can be simple retail. I mean, look at it this way. 2 years ago, who in their right mind would have said, I really want to go to a white basement in the old town of ToRun because it's the best place for technology and startups in the whole city. Nobody. That opportunity is out there, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why I want to bring you together. I'm reiterating on the slide what Michael said so elegantly earlier. Learn, read, fit your personality, and work your passion. And in that sense, I'm going to give you 3 quotations to inspire you, intrigue you, and so on. The first one, from Thomas Edison. He designed the light bulb. As well as being a genius inventor, he was also a really great businessman. He was a great salesman. So in English, we say, everything comes to he who waits. In other words, you sit back, you wait, and it will happen for you. Very nice medieval concept. Edison, he updated it. Version 2.0 of the quotation, okay? Everything comes to he who hustles as he waits. Hustles? Let me sell you something, young lady. Now, have I got the perfect product for you? That's the hustle. Being able to promote your business wherever you go, just like Michael Furtick said earlier on, talking about the idea of constantly selling what you're up to and what you're doing. Think about your product, think about your product development, think out of the box about what people want. Henry Ford, a man of great ability, mass production, one of the first major factories for automobiles in Dearborn in Michigan, founded over 100 years ago, and yet still to this day, the core of mass production principles are the same. If I had asked people, if I'd asked my customers, said Henry Ford, what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So you got to think ahead, be ahead of the competition, and at the same time keep planning. Dwight Eisenhower, he was pretty good during the Second World War. He was also a leading political figure in America. He said it beautifully. You know, plans are nothing, but planning, writing that plan, updating that plan, being prepared, that is everything. So do what feels right for you, ladies and gentlemen, because the future is never linear. You've got to think not just about where you start, but where you go on. Look at Groupon, okay? We all know about Groupon. Groupon was a horrible failure. Actually, Groupon's horrible failure was they started in the world of NGOs. They did. They started as a list that emailed people to protest things. So they would say, I don't know, some Poland's Got Talent star has just been arrested. He's going to be at court tomorrow. Let's all pop up and protest his innocence. And actually, people were pretty apathetic. They really didn't have a great deal of interest in saving the Bolivian hunchbacked nether whale or something. And they didn't turn up. And these guys were totally depressed. So they went downstairs and they did what people often do when they're depressed, which is eat pizza. And as they were eating pizza, the guy who owned the pizza place said, hey, you got that thing. Yeah, and how many names have you got? And they went like 30,000. And he went, whoa, okay, I'll give you so many cents for every pizza they buy if you send them a special offer coupon. Now there, ladies and gentlemen, we have the demonstration of why NGOs are doomed and why capitalism works. Because when you're looking for the money to come from God, from the heavens, from the taxpayers, it never works. When you offer them a discount on their pizza, capitalism, the opportunity to profit, to eat, to have your own Hawaiian chicken hammy calorie thing, it works. Suddenly Groupon had a revelation. And the revelation wasn't about the hunchback, netherback, green thingy whale and global something or othering. It was about the fact that, hey, this list, we could sell people stuff. Everything came to they who hustled while they waited. So in that sense, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I think the thing to bear in mind is don't worry too much about the money. Just get out there and do something with your passion. I'm a big believer in bootstrapping, what we call duct tape programming, I think in the Silicon Valley trade as well. There's so many tools at your fingertips. You can do so much so cheaply. I mean, good God, you know, your website, you can put it together so cheaply. You can use all of these tools that are online. They're free, they're cheap, they're whatever. You can do incredible things at the moment with business like you've never been able to do before. I'm not saying don't ever get people to code. I'm not trying to cut out our friends at the back there who are all suddenly thinking, oh my God, I'm out of a job. No, that's not what I'm saying. The point is there are places to program. There are places to do apps. But there are also so many pieces of technology at your fingertips you can build so cheaply, okay? In the last year alone, I built one business on effectively a newsletter business out of nothing. And it cost a fraction of what it would even have cost 10 years ago. It is there. It's possible. And therefore, I said, you know, start small and think big. Plan, plan, plan. Think, think, think. Work, work, work. Of course, as I think everybody has said earlier this evening, when I came to Workspace and always think laterally, of course, I was at the university yesterday. I wanted to introduce them to a lovely cafe where you'll always be welcome. Come by, have a latte, use our bandwidth. You can come along. You can do all sorts of things in our space. I mean, it's multifunctional when it's working. People have interviewed models here. We've had photo shoots. They shot UMK soap opera one day here as well. There's all sorts of things you can do. It's just incredible what happens in cafes. Maybe I should stop there. And finally, what I would say is, if any of you or your friends have an idea, you're going to come up with something, remember, we're going to do another clinic soon. We're really, really keen to get that going again. We'll do an autumn-winter clinic probably during the summer or maybe just after the summer. It'll be a great chance for us to meet people and see what's going on. We love hearing about what's been going on in terms of what's happening in our business. And finally, I want to say something about someone who's not maybe the greatest entrepreneur in this country, but at the same time, he deserves a great deal of praise. Leszek Balcerowicz, he got an award yesterday, the Milton Friedman Economic Prize. That demonstrates that Poland's on the map. It's a fabulous award. He's an incredible man. I have been lucky enough to meet him a couple of times. He's incredibly intelligent. He's fascinatingly interested. And most of all, he loves ToRun, because effectively he came from here. And therefore, I just wanted to say, I think of all the people, trying to put down who would there know, there wouldn't be a mission ToRun without. Well, there wouldn't be without Adam and Ilona and with Maciej and of course our beautiful and wonderful chairman, Beata. And it would be very difficult to function with all our great speakers, Michael Fertig, etc., Mr. Zakrzewski. Adam, it's a pleasure to see you once again. Everybody who's spoken during the year. But actually, without this guy, there wouldn't be any modern Poland, okay? Lech Wałęsa wouldn't be any modern Poland. John Paul II wouldn't be any modern Poland. But the difference that stops Poland from being a cesspit where you can't do business like Ukraine or being a prosperous up and rising country is that guy. He's incredible. He's done amazing things for Poland, and I think therefore I would like to say thank you very much for your presence. Mission ToRun is 1 year old. We're going to go from strength to strength. We really look forward to doing lots more in the business space, in the small business space. And from one tiny little happy startup, Hansa Cafe, thank you very much to everybody here. To all of you, it's been fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much. Ostatnie minuty, mam nadzieję, że zostały dobrze wykorzystane do tego, żeby używać hashtaga Mission ToRun i w tej chwili zamykamy konkurs. Czy mamy już wyniki, Środko, Marysio, Ilono? Tak, mamy już wyniki. Proszę bardzo, zapraszam. Środka Marysia jest bardzo skromna, nie chce się ujawnić, ale mam nadzieję, że zaraz odkryje przede mną, kto jest zwycięzcą naszego konkursu. Dziękuję. Pierwsze miejsce Dominik. Agent Dominik, zapraszamy. Zapraszamy. Tak? Musisz się stawić i ujawnić. Proszę. Proszę bardzo, gratuluję. Bardzo dobrze skasztagowane. Chcieliśmy tym konkursem, jest to do pełni. Mam nadzieję, że to zachęci Ciebie do tego, żeby zakładać biznes w Toruniu. Jest to poradnik inwestora przywieziony tutaj przez Adama Zakrzewskiego. No i nagroda od naszego sponsora głównego, firma Ada Plus. Brawo. Drugie miejsce Adam blokuje. Adam dzisiaj widzę, że robił na dwie ręce. Tak? Proszę bardzo, udało się. Gratuluję. Nasz agent Adam. Trzecie miejsce agentka Kasia. Gratuluję. Agentka Kasia dostaje nagrodę od Hansa Cafe. Jest to herbatka dla dwojga. Proszę bardzo, zapraszam. A w tej chwili czas na networking. Dziękuję bardzo za naszą rocznicową myszyn. Dziękuję gorąco za Wasze prezenty, a przede wszystkim za przybycie i mam nadzieję do zobaczenia następnym razem. Nasza misja się nie kończy na naszym spotkaniu. Już w czerwcu spotykamy się ponownie. Dziękuję. Zapraszam.